Hello everyone, this is Paula, and today we're going to work on another piece of ephemera. I did not come up with this idea. I saw it on Crafty Cat, and so Amy made a bunch of these, and I just got inspired by her to come on and make some as well. I've made them before. It's been a long time ago, but I decided to do it for you guys. So I thought we'd decorate them afterwards. So I'm going to show you how to make two, and then we're going to move on to covering them, which is a lot of fun too. So as you can see here, there's a split, which is the last thing you do, okay? So the first thing you do is slice two envelopes. You take two envelopes and you slice the ends off, okay? That's the first thing you do. And I'm going to show you here. I got the wrong one. Got to get some actual envelopes that aren't already cut. Okay, here's two like that. Okay, and then we'll do these two. Okay, so let's get started on this because we're not going to have much time. Time's going to fly away before we know it. So let me get my trimmer up here where you can see what we're doing. So I'm basically just trimming off the edges of each envelope. Okay, just the ends. When you're done, it will actually be straight. You'll find that it's not that straight, and you'll make it straight when it's all said and done. So here's the second envelope. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut the ends off. Okay, and then we're going to cut this part off. So we're going to attach these two together, and the two envelopes together. And I don't think we need the trimmer for a little bit. So, well, let's go ahead and cut the ends off of these other two. That way we don't have to get the trimmer back out. Okay, whoops, there goes all the glues. So you want to make sure you're using two identical envelopes. So we're going to cut the ends off of this one and the next one. I don't think I've ever taught you guys how to make these. Maybe at the time there was a lot of people or something doing it. I do remember making them, but it's just a process. Okay, you just kind of have to make adjustments as you go along and hope that you're getting everything straight. Isn't that nice to know? Okay, so I'm going to move all this other stuff out of the way. Okay, let's start with the big ones. That way it's a little easier to see them. So, put those right there. So we'll start with these. And I think I did use the trimmer one more time. It just dawned on me. So you have two pieces just like that. And you've got this fishtail on the end, okay? So I take my glitter glue on one of them, the one that I'm not cutting the ends off of. This one is going to have this cut off, okay? Now, I forgot about using the trimmer on that. And then I'm taking these areas that are loose. You know how envelopes are barely glued together. And you have to kind of glue things down. And that's what I'm doing now. So I'm just gluing these edges down. At this point, I didn't know if these were involved in the whole thing and needed to be glued down or not. But it didn't matter. I did it. And so I flipped it over and did this one little tail here as well. And I use glitter glue because it just dries lots faster for stuff like that. Now, I did that one. We don't need to do this one because we're going to take our trimmer again and trim that off. And we're going to do it on the other one too while we have it out. So you just want to line it up nice and straight and trim it off on that line. Okay, and so that one is ready. Now here we have the same situation with these. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to trim this off. Put it under here and get it all nice and straight and trim it off. And toss that. Okay, so we don't need those extra pieces. And that helps us not to have to deal with that right now. Okay, so let's look at this small one and make sure things don't need to be glued down on any of these envelopes. Just a little. Just a little. Just a little. Just a little bit. Okay, so just add some glue in those little spots that aren't staying down. It may or may not matter because I don't remember. I made those a few weeks ago. I've been kind of lining things up for us to do and trying some different things so we could spend our summer just doing fun things. Okay, now let me make sure there's no glue there because that's the last thing you want. Okay, everything is down on that one. Okay, so let's move back to the big one. So what we're going to do is you're going to take the one that you did not keep the tail end of, and you're going to glue this flap here. Okay, so how do you know where you're gluing it, right? So I just lay it out like this, and I roll it in, even though I know it's not straight, and I just keep it in that position, roll it over here, and make sure everything's going to fit and fold like it needs to before I glue it down. Now tap this down, make sure the flap will come down without any puckering. Now you can see here that this is kind of lifting a little bit. Now what I did, let me think for a minute what I did to keep that from, I just went ahead and trimmed a tiny bit more of this. And I'm not going to get my trimmer out. I'm just going to cut a little bit more, nice and straight, the best I can, off the end piece. Now, you won't always have to do this. That's only if things aren't fitting right. And now let's see if I cut the right one. So you're going to put this flap under, okay? Going to put it under so you have a cleaner outside, and you're going to line that up, fold it in. Because it's shorter here, it should work, but it may not, and we still may have a problem, and we do. So you just have to trim until you get it just like you want it. So let's see how we can maneuver that. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I don't have it all the way down. Okay, so when you trim that extra little bit off, you want to make sure you bring that part into the crack so that it's all the way down and leaves a little bit of a gap at the top. Let me show you. Why is it doing that? Because that's, you know, how it wants to do me. And you also will have to trim little edges right here. And then once you've got those trimmed, it will shut perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and trim those. And I'm going to show you again exactly what I did on the other one. So you'll know how I got to where I got. And you just want to, you want a little space up here so you can close your envelope. Okay, so see how nice that will be. Now, we're going to go ahead and glue this one, and then we'll move on to the next one and show you the same process. It's really not hard. Don't let it get in your head that it's hard, because it really is not. Okay, so we're going to go like this, and we're going to fold it one more time and just make sure we didn't overlook anything. Okay, and then we're going to go like this. And then it's going to fit. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it. Now, what I do is I glue this underneath, okay? So what I do is I come right here and I glue this down, this edge comes down, and this is where we're going to put the envelope. And we may have to add glue somewhere else too. But you want to line them up, and remember this, you might want to use another kind of glue that doesn't glue so fast the first time. I did not, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So I glued here, here, here on the other side of this, and this is what I ended up with on the other side. See, there's still, I didn't take it out too far because I wanted to make sure I didn't get it on other things. So now you can go ahead and come under here and put extra glue. Make sure things are gluing down, and then that way everything's flat. And then you just flip it over, put some glue on the edge, and go all the way up. They don't want anything sticking up. Okay, so there we go. So, you know, Fabri-Tac does, glitter glue does give you a little bit of a wrinkle look, but it'll be fine on this. Okay, so this is what we end up with, this long, awesome envelope. Now, with the way I do it, this does leave a little extra crease right here, but we're going to cover that. So I don't worry about that. And then you'll see here that there's a little bit of a space between that line and this line, and that's because we cut just a little bit extra off that extra piece. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now, in a bit, I think we'll wait till we have everything glued down, but in a little bit, we're going to cut a slit just like this to hold the flap in. But we're going to wait and do that after we cover the envelope with some digitals. We're using Tailor Made Journals digitals, wallpapers to do that. Now, here's the same two pieces. Now, remember, we took that one and cut just a little bit more off. And I'm just going to do it a little bit. It doesn't hurt anything to do it. So, we for sure won't be doing anything to damage the envelopes. So, we're going to go like this again, and we're going to do a practice run and make sure everything fits nicely. Line these two up with the flap on the other side, on the outside. And then you're going to lift this, bring it over, and make sure that flap comes down. And it does. Yeah. So it's just an awesome, awesome little way to use envelopes. And honestly, let's see. If you wanted to do more than 2, you could probably do 3 envelopes. Just doing it the same way, using the same parts further out. Okay, here we go. So we're going to lay that flap underneath. We're going to line up the other parts where they don't go over this line. You want to keep them where that can fold in. Okay, and so I just am going to put glue here, and see, I've moved it, and that's okay. You can move it. It won't hurt a thing. If you do move it, go ahead and put your glue on the outside of this, and then you won't have to go back and add glue. Okay, so keep this up. It's going to be a little trickier when you do it this way, but that's okay. I think I've made enough. I can handle it this time. Yep, it went on just fine. Now you want to rub it in here. Flip it over. Make sure you don't have glue everywhere, because that will ruin your surface. I felt some. I just don't know where it's coming from. Maybe down here. And if you're off a little bit, like I got just a smidgen hanging over right here, just trim it. It's no biggie. So now you see there's a flap here on the inside because we didn't glue that portion. And because I did it a little different as far as the gluing goes, but it's not a major deal. You just go glue it down. Anything sticking up needs to be glued down. Just in case it causes a problem later on. Okay. This one's fine because we got on the edge. All right, so let's cover this small one first because we don't want to waste a lot of time. So these are the two that we made. And this is how they'll look after they're split right there. But we're not doing that until, you know, we have time to do that. So we're going to decorate this little one first, and then we'll come back and do the big one. Now, my plan is to do the outside. I kind of like the outside to all be one color, if possible. All right. Now, I have this peacock that I think is awesome. This paper with a peacock. I don't know which kit it was in. She has like 5 or 6 wallpaper kits. So you'll just have to kind of look for it. But I'm going to put him, you heard it, right here. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of glue, Fabri-Tac, not this, because I don't want it to look wavy from the glitter glue is water-based and Fabri-Tac is acetone based. So we're going to glue this on here just like this as one piece for the outside. And then we'll have to figure out something for the flap. I figure we'll do a blue or something. Okay. So this is how this one is going to go. Or do I want this on the big one? I don't think this is, yeah, it's not long enough to do on the big one. We'll have to piece whatever we do on that one. Okay, there we go. Now it's nice and straight. I'm not going to do anything but lift it, put glue down, just like this. I'm going to leave it off the outside edges, and then I'll stitch around it. I won't stitch it during this video, but I will come back and show you guys how it looks stitched. We just don't have time to do the machine work. But look how easy that is to do. You just turn it back around, and we're going to do the same thing on this side, and you'll see where you glued previously. Keep it off the edges so it doesn't get your machine all gunky. And I think you'll appreciate that a little bit more. My glue is coming out slow, and it's coming out in little blotches. Okay, now we're going to do this. Now you can use your scissors. I've not ever covered one of these, so I didn't know we were going to have to come back and do this. But you can use your scissors, or you can use the trimmer. Because it's so long, I'm going to use the trimmer. Now, no, you have to flip it over on the back side to do this. You don't want to cut off any of your paper. Just barely come off of your envelope. And then cut it. Now we have a little bit hanging over here on the end. So we're going to do the same. I hope you guys can see. I got so much junk over here. But I'm using it. That's the sad part of it. So we're going to pull it over here and just barely come off your envelope. Don't cut your envelope. Just barely. There we go. Now I'm keeping the bigger piece and trashing the smaller piece. So now we've got this. How awesome is that? Now, I'm not going to fold this just this minute because I don't want anything to pucker up. I want it to dry flat. So we'll go ahead and decorate the whole thing. And now I thought we'd just do a blue up here. Now, let me think for a second which blue. Because we've got several blues. I also have just a solid blue. I just got to find it. Let's do the solid blue if I have any more left over. I may or may not. Let me just look real quick. Oh, there's one right there. This is just a piece of paper I had left over from doing the Bumblebee journal. If you haven't seen that, go check out all the photos on Etsy. It's this adorable book, okay? And this was from Poppiness, okay, by Susan. And let's see. So what I'm going to do, just so, you know, we get a good cut. I'm going to draw around this, okay? I am going to line it up as straight as I can with the line of the flap. Use a pencil because you can always erase it. And then just draw around it. Okay. This will make it look really cool. Okay. Now, got both sides going here. You want to just make sure everything is held down. Oops. Okay. So I am going to use my scissors and cut this because I think it's going to be good enough. I know it's kind of hard for you to see. I'm trying to get my scissors to line up. Oh my word. Okay, and then I'm just going to stay on the line. If you mess up, you have more blue here, Paula. That's what I'm telling myself. Okay, and then you're going to go down the other side. Stay on your line. I'm not concerned about this side, but I'm not sure if I stayed on my line on the other side. So, I think I did. But, you know, you never know. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is lay this down and make sure it's a good fit. And anything that might not seem like a good fit, you can trim off the edges. You know, as long as you got your paper covered. And so, there we go. And I'm going to do the very same thing with my Fabri-Tac that I did. And remember, you're going to stitch around this separate. So, you don't want to get too much in your sewing area. Although I did a little bit there. It came pouring out of my... You just never know what it's going to do. It just came pouring right out. We're going to flip it around and do this. And we're going to do both sides, let it dry. And by the time we finish the second one, this one should be dry. And we can come back and finish it. Not the stitching, but everything else. Hopefully we'll be able to fold it and stuff like that. Yeah, there we go. Now make sure you don't have glue everywhere. Now we're flipping it over, and I'm staying with the blue color scheme here because I like that. Or I could do yellow on the inside. How about we do some yellow? That will be different. I just like to mix it up a little bit. I only have the one sheet of that color. Looks like it goes really well. That yellow. I have two other yellows. Let's see. There's that one. This one's more of a buttery color. I like the bright one. Now, when you do the big envelopes, you have to have 2 of each print. So when you're printing, you want to kind of remember that. Now, there is like some kind of little flower arrangement in some kind of wall pot. So I'm going to line that up just like we did the other side. And hopefully I can get down the center. If I don't, it's not a big deal. It's just paper, right? Okay. Now this is going to be lower. And the only time you're going to see an image on this, doing it like this, is when you are folding the whole thing out. And who's to say what you're going to do with it? It could be used for so many things. And that's what makes this fun. So we're going to glue that down. This, you know, does not have to be difficult. Now, if you want to collage it, you can do that. But I just feel like it would make it too bulky. But maybe do just each section. And I may do that on some of them. But never go all the way out to the end if you're going to stitch it. Because, you know, that won't work that great for you. Here we go, doing the same thing again, rubbing it in very well. And then we're going to bring our, what do we want to do up here? Now we have blue. I don't really want to do blue. We could do this pinkish color or we could do a lighter yellow. Let me think. Let me see what else we've got here. We've got what's left of the peacock. We could do it sideways, but it would have to be pieced, and I don't want to do that. So let me see what else I got over here on my stack. Give me just a moment. I'm going to dig through some maybe pale pink type stuff. Maybe we'll get lucky and find a little pink. I don't think I'm going to, because think about it. How many people actually put up pink wallpaper? Not very many. So I have this little piece. Let's use it. This was left over for making our pockets. And let's see. I want to get that section in, so I'm going to trim that off. Okay. I want to make sure I have the flowers on my envelope. And we're going to do it the very same way. We're going to line it up. I'm not going to worry about centering it or anything like that, because we've got, just mostly want it to work with the top part of the envelope. Follow that line. And that way it will keep it kind of straight. And I don't know if I've got mine perfectly straight. We'll find out. It doesn't really matter to me. You can always throw an extra piece in there if you want. Okay. So we're going to, that's going to look fun. Stay on your line the best you can. You might have to erase a few pencil marks, and that is fine also. This is a really simple project when you think about it and do it like this. It takes the difficult out. When you're trying to cut the piece to fit, I think that makes it a little more crazy to put together. Now I'm going to take my eraser because there's a little bit on here. If you have any on, just erase along the edge of where you did your pencil. And that way it doesn't show. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. Let's get this little guy down. I think I want to trim that off first so I can make sure I line everything up correctly. Now we're on this pretty side again with the peacock, which is the outside. Okay, so we want to line this up and make sure the envelope is, or the trimmer is not cutting into your peacock at all. Now, you have to get pretty close, you know, to get it how you need it. But we can always go back. If you don't want to get super close, we can always go back and trim with our scissors any little stuff, you know, that might show up. Just line it up. You'll know you did that part right when you can cut right through it and not feel like you've intruded somewhere else. Okay. Line it up right there. All right. You know, this would make a very fun card as well. If I got this in the mail, I would be so excited. Because then you just open it up and have all kinds of wonderful. You could write a long letter. Use something that's a color, but, you know, not with a floral or something. So we're going to do this the same way. I'm going to line it up like this. Make sure. All right. It's not perfect, but it will do. Just want to make sure it's lined up on here on that line. And then turn it where you want it. Hold it down really well. And then lift this side to put your glue on. Remember to allow stitching areas. Leave the edges. Then we're going to flip it around and do the same thing here. Now it's pretty much holding itself down for you. Got a little bit of glue there going on. So see, you can see that's going to fold down there on that fold. And these others, you can see where the paper's kind of popping up. It's going to do that. But we're going to see if we can go ahead and fold a little bit, because I'm not sure which way's the best way. But I do know I want this to fold up nicely for me. And you want to be able to feel where your seams are. And you're going to have, you know, areas that might not glue as good as the others, but stitch through there. You can stitch down, up and down all your seams. Okay. Now, in reality, that's the right way. Okay, I thought I was doing it backwards, but I'm not. Get your bone folder. You'll need it at this point. And make sure all your seams are, you know, as flat as they can be without tearing your paper. This is just copy paper that I am using for my digital print. Now, these are not my digitals. These are tailor-made journals. which I recommend her store if you haven't ever gone there. It is awesome. Okay, she has awesome digitals. So we're going to keep going here, and we got to remember that we still should have a little bit of a gap up here because that's what we planned on, remember? Just enough gap that it will, it should fold for you too. It's going to be harder. It's not just going to automatically fold up here because it's more bulky. Now, your outside is going to end up looking better than your inside, if I had to guess, okay? Because we didn't let the inside dry, for one thing, but we couldn't because we need to come back in here and straighten that out. And I will be stitching along these seams as soon as they dry. Okay, so you got this like this. Okay, and then you go back in here and just kind of, with it kind of folded up so you can see the bulkiness, and this way you can just glue it down or whatever. I think it needs a little bit more glue, but you can't get up in there, so I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm going to stitch instead. Okay, so here we go. Oh my goodness, I love this. Love it so far. Loving it so far. So this side right here still needs to be flattened. You mostly want to make sure your outside is as perfect as you can get it. And here you go. Open out. Open out. This is your inside. I'll stitch over that. Here's your outside. Yeah, was that not fun? Let's go ahead and cut where we need it to be cut. And what I do is I fold it closed like this, and I take my pin and I decide about where I want my tuck. And I think I want it about there. And then I just come back and line it up on my trimmer so I know it will be straight. Okay. Got to find my pencil marks. Can't remember which section actually gets trimmed on. I think it's this middle one. There it is. It's the middle section. So straighten this out. All right, so you want to find it, line it up to the side so you know that your envelope's straight. Find your lines. If your lines aren't perfect, just straighten it up by making sure you have your envelope, your finished envelope to the edge. Butt it up against there so you get a straight line. Okay, and you do not want it to go the whole length. So we're dealing with, let me see how many inches. 2, 3, 4. Probably about 6, but I'm just eyeballing it. And I'm just going to look at where I want this, because you got to remember, you don't want it too much bigger. You don't want it wider than what you mark. Maybe just a hair. And it sounds like it's cutting. So let's see if we cut it correctly. It's hard to tell because we don't have anything to put in there yet. So we're going to fold like this, come around and hook that in there. Perfect. Perfect. How fun, right? Now I can see here that I can see part of my white envelope, so I'm going to trim those edges just a little bit. And let's see, get these little white edges off. Honey, did you need me? I guess not. He came in here waving his arms. I just wanted to make sure he didn't need to tell me something. Okay. All right, so we're going to turn it here and trim off anything hanging over. Try to keep it straight because you don't want to have to go back a second time to straighten things. So that's perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next one. I'm going to check our time and make sure we have time to do that. But this is how it's going to look, just like I showed you. So, I'm going to lay this out to dry, and I will stitch it, and we will have a video where I come back and show you the stuff that we stitched. Okay, we as in me. Had to have a little drink. Now, what I recommend on this particular envelope combination is I recommend that you actually have 2 pieces of whatever you use here on the outside for sure, and really on the inside. I don't know if I do, but we're sure going to look and see what's left over. Now, I have one that, this is cute. I just think this is cute. This little pot and cup. How cute is that wallpaper? I swear I knew somebody that had this wallpaper. And, you know, this would work in a teacup journal. So I think I'm going to try and put it on this first section on the outside. Now I got to think, now when it's folded up, what's going to be showing, okay? Not here, but here, because that's the biggest area. So that's the area we want to concentrate on decorating right here. And so I'm wanting to figure out where my center is. I'm using the blue lines here, and that helps me to get it where I want to get it. But now you can obviously see it's way too low. So I'm thinking line it up. I'm going to trim this section off right down here. We'll see what happens. But first I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to cut down the middle of that, or down that green strip, in case I decide to use the blue strawberries. blue strawberries. There has to be a name for that somehow. I'm going to go ahead and trim this other side down, keeping the blue in here until I know how far in it's going to go. Okay. All right. Now, we know we're going to have to trim some off here. So if you look right here, this is how I'm kind of eyeballing it. I'm cutting clear up to this little, I think it's an onion or a strawberry. I'm not sure. Not sure, guys. But I'm trimming the whole bottom all the way up. We may lose a little bit of our image, but that's all right. There's worse things, right? So now we're going to lay it over here again. We'll lay it like this. Put it on here the best we can. Okay. And then cut straight across where we think it's going to need to go. And I'm looking here because I kind of folded it. Let me fold it in. I'd rather fold it a little higher than what I suspect it is, just to be sure that we have it on here right. Okay, so let's do that. If I end up with a little white space, it's no big deal. the background is white. So I figure, trying to find my line, it's very hard to see. Okay. So we're going to cut right here. Keep your fingers crossed that I didn't cut too much off. And then we have this edge all the way up to this edge. And I'm going to leave that. I'm going to glue it like that. And then I'm going to trim the little bit off here. And the reason is you want it to be a little... You can still fold your flap down to cut it from that area, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. So let's glue this sucker down. I have everything to make another teapot book, and at some point, this will also be in there. I'll put it in with the paper so I don't forget about it. Do you guys do that when you're planning a particular paper? Just put it in that folder with it, and then you end up with, you know, the nice thing about Fabri-Tac, like, you know, you can see where your line is here, and you know, you can move it a little bit. You have some time to make sure you're getting it on correctly. Leave your edges to stitch. Now we know that's as center as possible because we've got these blue lines hanging over. Now I'm going to fold this flap down. Okay, just like that, so I can see exactly where to trim. It actually looks a little crooked, but that's not a biggie either. So who knows, maybe we'll have to trim it a little bit more. I'm butting it right up against that edge and trying not to cut my flap. It's hard when you've got white on white to see what you're cutting. Okay. There you go. Yay. Didn't cut my envelope. Got it all nice and centered. Not going to worry about the edge until we do it all. That way it'll be straight too. So I'm thinking we'll do something either green or blue on the bottom. And I'm leaning more towards blue, but see, that's sideways. Then we've got this blue. Nope, I don't want to add the pink. Not done yet, not done yet. Let's see what else we've got. Here's another blue. It's not really the right blue. I have 2 sheets of this. So what I'm thinking is just doing it by section this time. Do you know what I'm saying? We could do blue in one section and green in this section. Let's just see what happens if we do that. Because, you know, it's not... And I'm just going to line it up with this paper here, but leave a little gap where your seam is and where you need to fold, okay? Because you want it to come out in the right spot. Now, when you lean this over to add your glue, make sure you hold everything down the best you can. Now, mind you, I know it's not going to be that easy. I need something to weigh it down. Here we go. Because I can't use my fingers to hold it back. So there we go. Now, I just need to be ready and get this all glued down right here in this section. All right, now it's not going to glue anywhere but where I put the glue, and we'll be able to trim it like we did the last one and take care of that section. I think I like the whole doing two different colors. This one will make this one different, which is fun. And if you have a picture like this, you don't always need to come back and decorate. It's up to you how you decorate your pages. And so now I've got to figure out, there we go. So see, there is where it needs to be trimmed off. And this time I'm just going to kind of mark it with my pencil very lightly. I mean, it's great to have this where you can, you know, see it. So I'm going to bring my trimmer over. Now, I don't know if we'll be able to trim it on here because of getting this up snug enough. I could pull it back a little. No, I think we're going to have to cut this section. Let's go ahead and do the side section. You know, we can come back and trim it up later. I just have to figure out where. Okay. No, it doesn't want to lay flat because of the length, so we'll do that in a bit. We just got to trim some stuff off, and we'll get it right where it needs to be trimmed, right up against the edge. You just need to make sure you're not cutting your envelope, and you will know that right away, like I said, because it will be very thick. So I'm going to try doing this right here now. Well, let me get this part off. I should have just trimmed that all the way off. Let's see if we can do that. There we go. Now that's off. Now we can maybe do the side. Okay. If we don't get it perfect, we will when it's all over with, because we'll be able to go back and trim that. And I'm going to go ahead and trim that side off while I'm at it, and the other side. Why not? Just get it out of the way. Okay. When it's white on white, it's very hard to see how close you are to your envelope. And you might have to move it around and make sure it's not going to bump. Now, I'm just going to take that off. I thought maybe get that off of there, and then make sure that all went well, and it did. So now we'll do this side. I don't want to lay that over, so let's do it like this. Maybe we can get it back. It seemed like it was over a little bit further, and it probably was not, but I didn't want to take a chance. It's slicing the other portion. We can always trim with our scissors. Okay. Trying to pick up these scraps that are everywhere. Now, I'm going to put this away for a second. Ooh, it's starting to look good, isn't it? Yay. Okay. So now what we need to be concerned with is how close that is under here. Because, well, it may not matter, because when you fold it, it's going to turn out okay, I think. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it looks like it's right there. It's down here. It seems a little bit long. So what I'm going to do is fold this in and take my scissors and just trim slightly under there, trying to stay straight. That's the hard part, I will tell you, because it's not that easy. But because we can get our scissors up under there, because we didn't glue that section, it shouldn't be awfully bad. And you're just taking a sliver anyway off of there. We could actually pull it up a little bit and see if that doesn't help. Yeah, it might help to cut it that way, because you've got that envelope underneath, which is keeping you from moving your scissors very well. So I'm kind of cutting it at an angle, so the chances are it's not going to be perfect. But just do the best you can. I'm not worrying about it, and I'll see what I end up with. It's going to be a white space, and it's probably going to be a crooked little piece of blue paper. Now, let's see what we ended up with. Yeah, it's shorter in the middle. See right there? So what I may end up doing is putting something under here. Let me see what I got. I need something that can slide under there, and I can use like a little razor or something, you know, just to go along that edge. There we go. And try to get it straight this way. Now, the question is, how do I get to my little razor, right? Because I have so much on my desk. Hold on. And which drawer is it in? Is it behind door number 1 or door number 2? 2. This is just a little cheap Tim Holtz tonic little blade. It's not super smart, but yes, it will cut you. Or sharp, I mean. It will cut you. Now my question to myself is, self, what's going to be straight and what's not going to be straight? So let's go with the shortest section and see if we can't get it straight. And we don't know if it will be, but we're going to try. And I really honestly do not know. How about we do this with our pencil? Let's try it with our pencil first. Not that much is hanging over, just right here on the edges and the sides, which should be the easiest part to get. I don't know. But it makes sense that it would. So let's see. So that little bit's off. Let's see what this little side looks like. Right there is the line. Can you see it? It's if you can't, I'm sorry. It's just, I couldn't draw it too dark because I don't want it to mess up the whole project. That was in my way. So maybe I would do this different. Maybe I would just measure next time on this section and make sure I'm getting the exact cut from the beginning. But after this, it's going to look much better. Okay, now let's look. And see, it's going to end up folding up here. It's not perfect, but it's better. You know, and knowing me, I have to keep going back, trying to straighten this, straighten that. One little section sticking up. But you know what? That's all right. I'm not going to trim those edges yet. Okay. So we're as good as we're going to get for now. And then after we've got everything done, we'll see what needs to be trimmed. But I do recommend that you trim these or cut to fit. In other words, go ahead and cut it at measure and cut it out. And, you know, all of them are going to be different, so I can't really give you a measurement because, you know, because. So down here, I'm thinking we're going to do something green. So let me find my greens. I have two, but I have one that I like better. And it's this one. And it's going to have to be done the same way. But now I don't have to cut it out ahead of time because, except I don't like, my printer must have made an ugly mark there. Or who knows, it may have already been on the wallpaper, but I need to cut that off so I can start in the right spot. I'm going to cut down a little bit. Okay, there we go. Now, let's put that on. Okay, now I'm going to try to line this one up correctly, if I can. You want to make sure it's in the upright position, even though, see, like when you fold it, that's going up and in. This is like this, but if you turn this around, these are upside down. So I'm not going to worry about that because it's just crazy. But if you wanted to flip that around, you could. And the same with this, because it's going to be folded in and then up. So you would want it to be up this way. But it's going to go just like I got the other one for now, for this time. And I might try to figure that out a little better when I make another one. So I've got several to cover. Trust me, got several to cover. So we're going to just get our glue out like we've been doing. And see how far back. Okay, there we go. Just make sure everything's straight because you've got Fabri-Tac. You can adjust anything that might not seem straight. So now we're going to flip it around and do the other side. It's just easier for me to do it from the right side. After this, we'll do the flap. We need to figure out, I think I want to do the flap, one of these two colors. And you'll see there's a bigger gap here, right here, this gap in between. I don't like that, but there's nothing I can do about it because I should have measured to fit this. If you're going to do this, its own color, you need to measure to fit the middle section. Okay? Now, on the inside, I probably will just go with one color. It depends if I have enough paper in one color. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to get our little trimmer out. It's not so little, but you know what I mean. And I need to check our time here pretty quick, too. Okay, get our trimmer out. Trim it straight across there without catching the envelope. I know I'm repeating myself, but sometimes it helps. I think you need to see things put together twice to really, you know, get it in your brain or in your head. At least I do. And you guys may not, but I do. Oh, I gotta fold that in to do it because it doesn't want to fit on here if you don't. Can't believe that came out just like it was supposed to. Okay, so there you go. There you go. Now, we're going to do our flap. And then on this side, we have our little teapot. Okay. I love the little teapot because I know I've got to do a teapot. I've got stuff to do another one, and I had a lot of comments on the teapot. People like the teapot. So let's look at these strawberries and see if they will go on this flap. And oh my goodness, are we going to get lucky and get the strawberries? Yes, we are. We're going to do them this way, right here. But let's go underneath and line it up. Now, we ended up with a little bit of blue on that side. I must have not had it as perfectly centered as I could have. But that's how you learn. Now, because this is all the way up, did I trim that? I can't remember. Yeah, I did. It's hard. It's hard to tell sometimes. Okay, because it's all the way up there, I'm going to try to make sure I get it nice and straight. I'm going to come in this way or this way, either one. I think I want to come in the other way because it's straighter. Okay, we'll get on there. You get more strawberries, more blue strawberries if you do it that way. Or at least I think you will. No promises. We're just going to draw around it with our pencil. Hand trim it out. And hope for the best. Stay on your line. You want to, if you go outside of the line, you sure don't want to do it in the middle of your flap. You'd want to do it on the outside of the line. And I don't think it's necessary. Just go slow and you'll get it right. I'm terrible at cutting. If you want to see someone that can cut well, go check out Tina at Shabba-Dabba-Doo-Dah. She can flat cut without, she doesn't use a trimmer. She cuts everything. It amazes me. Okay, so now we have our little flap. And you'll want to push it up as far as you can so that it glues down nicely. And we'll also end up stitching around it and trimming anything we think needs to be trimmed. And I'm taking it all the way up to the edge so we don't have any problems. You can just barely bump it and it will get out of place. And I'm sure you guys know that. I'm doing these two, I'm covering them, but I'm going to have some of them kind of generic. Like this, I feel like this needs to go in my teapot. The other one, I'm going to put it wherever I want because it's, it's not peacocks, but in my teapot. And then the other one is peacock. shucks. Lord help me. Okay, so we want to sew around this too at some point, so beware of where you're putting your glue. I did get a little close to the edge right there. But if we let it dry, it won't hurt your machine. All right, so that side is done. Finished, complete. And that looks cute with the strawberries on top of this. Let me see how much time we have. We are over our time. So, sadly, we won't get to finish this one, but I'm just going to line it with more paper, and it's going to look the same way. I'll put the little slits, and we will have it looking great. So we're 10, 11 minutes over, so we don't have time to recap much. So I will see you in the next video. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Bye-bye now.